Hey everybody, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving, got to spend a lot of time with your family, eat some really good food and all that good stuff. I know I did. We just actually got back from Illinois. That's where my mom's side of the family lives. So that was really fun to get to hang out with them and see my two little baby, well, they're like 3 now, so they're not babies anymore, but they're twin boys and they're my cousins. So that was super fun. And I had told myself earlier in the week, make sure you record this video so that when you get home on Sunday night, you don't have to do it and you can have it up and out and ready. And I did not do that. So it is 8:12 o'clock on Sunday night, and we're going to get this done so that we can have our Sunday devotional video for the week. And this week we are carrying on in the series about having good attitudes. Last week we talked about attitude of gratitude. Today we are going to go with another cheesy attitude related slogan of having a can-do attitude. I guess there's a reason these are cheesy and that we know them is because they're important, despite how cheesy they might be. But yeah, in order to accomplish anything, you need to have this attitude of, oh yeah, I can do this. Because if you don't believe that, then you're not even going to attempt it. So we're going to really focus on what having a can-do attitude looks like and what that can mean for our lives. I have 3 main points I want to talk about. First of all is, how do we even begin? Where do we start? How do we find this can-do attitude? And then number 2 is what that looks like in action, what it looks like as we are living it out, and how it plays out in our daily lives. And then number 3 is, what are the effects? Why should we even worry about this or care about it? What can it do for our lives? What can it mean for us? So those are the 3 things we're going to talk about today. And so we'll get started with how to begin. And I already kind of hinted at this. It begins with believing in the first place. Believing that you can accomplish what it is that you want to do. Let's say you have this goal, whatever it is, and if you don't believe that you can do it in the first place, you're not even going to set this goal probably. If you don't believe that either you are capable of it or that God will help you through it, then you're already like out of the race. You shouldn't even bother trying because you need to believe first that you can do it or that you have a God big enough to handle it for you. And it doesn't mean you're going to do it unafraid or with crazy confidence or courage. It just means that you're still going to go out and get it done no matter how afraid you might actually be. It just starts with simply believing that, yes, I think this is possible. In the Bible, Jesus teaches us what believing in Him and relying on Him can look like. In Matthew chapter 14, He's walking out to the disciples on the boat, and He calls Peter out of the boat, and He said, "Don't be afraid, take courage, I am here." And Peter called out to Him, "Lord, if it really is you, tell me to come to you walking on the water." And Jesus does that. He says, "Yeah, come to me." And so he started walking on the water, and then he started doubting, and he took his eyes off Jesus, and he started to drown, and then Jesus rescued him again. But it was when he was believing and trusting in Jesus and that he would be taken care of, that was when he could do the impossible thing of walking on the water. And as Jesus saved him and reached out to him, He said, "You have so little faith. Why did you doubt me?" And that's where it all begins, you guys. It starts with believing that you can do it and that you have a God who is capable of helping you. It doesn't necessarily matter where you're at right now. If it's in God's plan for you, He's going to make it possible. They always say that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. His disciples were a bunch of young guys that probably had no religious background, and He picked them up and He chose them. They weren't the most qualified people. They weren't the people running the churches or anything like that. Like, these were just young guys that Jesus chose and He taught them. So it doesn't matter what you think you're capable of right now. If you believe that God can make it possible, then that is where to start. And then what does that look like in action? What does that look like when we actually step out and start chasing after whatever these goals are that we have or whatever it is that we want to do. It starts with being determined. It starts with being disciplined. We need to push through when it gets hard. When, for me, for example, I'm running track right now, and it's a really long season. We start training in July and it ends in May. So, we start training like the end of July. So it's like a 10-month season, and it's quite long. And it can be hard to stay focused and disciplined for that long. And you have to remind yourself of those goals that you have. For me, like each year I want to run a new personal best time. So I have to write that down and make sure I know what I want to achieve so that I can go out there and be confident that I can actually do it. And there's a lot of things that come up that distract you from wanting to press on, that will discourage you. But if you are determined enough to get it done, if you have the discipline to get it done, you will get it done. But it starts with being disciplined and determined to do it. It's not losing focus. It's reminding yourself of your goal and reminding yourself why you want to achieve it and telling yourself that it's worth it. If this is something you really do want to achieve, then go for it. Like, don't let the little things come up. Throughout my season, there's always a bad race or a little injury. Sometimes little injuries turn into longer injuries, things like that. But I do have such a long season. There's so much time to fix the little things and learn and get better. So it's really important for me not to give up after one bad race, not to feel too discouraged after one bad week of practice or a bad workout. There's just so many little things that build up for that final meet. And I want to be ready for that. And in order for me to be ready for that, I need to put in the work all season and get that done. So it really does start with believing that you can do it and then carrying that out and keeping your eyes on the goal that you have. 1 Corinthians 9:24 is my favorite Bible verse, and it's something that really speaks to that. Just because, one, it literally speaks about running, so it applies very well to my life, but I think it's just a good verse in general. 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27. So I guess it's a few verses, but it says, "Don't you realize that in a race everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. All athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. So I run with purpose in every step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified." So, for me, at our conference meet in May, if I hope to do well, I need to put in the work and stay disciplined all season. And that's kind of what Paul is talking about in this, where he's saying that I need to discipline my body because I fear that after preaching to others, I might be disqualified. If you don't put in the work and do the things that you need to do each day, you're not going to even have a chance to compete necessarily, or you might not have a chance to seize the opportunity when it comes up to achieve whatever the goal is that you have. And as it pertains to our faith, it's talking about not letting yourself just live a crazy life and then hope at the end that, I'll make it to heaven. And it's not saying you have to be perfect to make it to heaven, but he's saying that if you want to run with purpose in every step, if you want to live a life with purpose, if you want to follow God's plan for your life, you do have to put the work in and you have to be obedient to what he's calling you to do, because you don't want to be disqualified for the eternal prize that is heaven, or even the prizes that are the opportunities and the blessings that God has for you here on this earth. You want to be ready and prepared to receive those things so that when, let's say, you do get the opportunity to play in that big game or act in a big play or anything like that you've got going on that you want to do, if you don't put in the work and practice right now, you're not going to be ready to do it when the time comes. So it's really important to stay disciplined during the hard times and remember what it is that you really do want to achieve. And the third point, what are the effects of all this? Why does it even matter? Why should we want to live our life with this kind of can-do attitude and believing that we can do it? Honestly, it just gives you a sense of purpose, I think. You don't want to live your life with this attitude of, oh, I can't do this, or no, that seems too impossible. First of all, no one's going to want to be around you because you're all negative all the time. And secondly, you're not going to achieve the things you want to achieve if you don't have this kind of attitude. So that's a really important thing, is to remember that if you can live your life with this positive attitude of, yeah, I can do it, then you have a chance of achieving those things, and that you're going to encourage and inspire other people to achieve those things. Now, that's pretty cool. And how Paul's talking about in Corinthians, he's saying that we can run with purpose in every step, not just shadow boxing. And there's another translation of this. It says, I'll discipline my body so I'm not like a boxer just beating the air. You don't want to just be boxing and beating at the air. You want to really be doing something of purpose. And you want to live a life that has meaning behind it, I think. I think a life that you just kind of walk through and put in your time and go out your day to day with really no end goal, with nothing that's inspiring you or wanting you to really make a difference or anything like that. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. You want to live your life with a sense of purpose. And having this attitude of that you can do it is the first step, because you need to believe that you do have a purpose. And Jeremiah 29:11 tells you just that God does have a purpose for you. One, to give you a hope and a future, not for harm. And I think that's super important to remember, because God does have a really big purpose for you, and He wants you to remember that you can do it. And the things that you might not be able to do right now, or the things that you don't know right now, He's going to give you the tools to accomplish what He wants you to do later. It's just maybe not the right time or the right place for you to be having those tools to get it done. You just need to remember that He does have a good plan for you. And you need to believe and trust in Him that He does have this good plan. He's going to make the things possible, and you need to believe in yourself that you can do it. You need to have that attitude of can do. So yeah, that is that for tonight. I hope you guys really, I know for me it's getting to be the end of the semester, we're heading into exams and stuff like that. So if that is the case for you guys, I hope you head into your exams your exams with this attitude of can do, and that you feel confident and that you can do well in all of that. So I wish you the best as you finish out your semesters, and I hope it all goes well. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a good week.